Please now welcome to the stage my guests from Sky Germany and Sky UK as we discuss how broadcasters are attracting the next generation of football fans. Please give a warm SVG Europe welcome to Sky Deutschland's SVP of Sports Production, Alessandro Reitano, and Head of Women's Sport at Sky UK, Joe Osborne.
Herzlich willkommen zu unserer Sky Next Generation Übertragung.
Providing you with all the buzz from behind the scenes.
Kinder mit ganz viel Freude an diesen Job anführen. Das wird ein großer Spaß.
So stick with us for Premier League Juniors.
Was für eine geile Atmosphäre das hier ist. Und dann sitzt du hier und hast Gänsehaut.
Falls Sie noch jemanden brauchen, ich bin auch Stürmer halt.
I need as much help as you can possibly get.
Don't do what you're doing right now.
Hast du dir schon überlegt, den du heute umgrätschen willst?
Ich versuche, unser Tor zu 0 zu halten und dann kann es auch mal passieren, dass ich jemanden umgrätsche.
This is my dream come true and it's a 1 in a million opportunity.
Ole Werner mit einer blendenden Idee.
Ist im Licht aufgegangen, oder?
Ja, genau.
Can you teach us how to say goal in Danish?
I can try. Goal is mål.
Mål.
Well done, you.
I'm going to guess you don't remember when Jamie played for Liverpool.
No, I don't remember.
Wie ist das, da oben zu sitzen und zu kommentieren?
Also richtig cool. Man kann jetzt hier alles genießen, wirklich, das ist echt geil.
We want you to say 3 words. Buzz.
Brentford are absolutely buzzing.
Sting.
So they need to take the sting out of the game.
Can they get back in it?
And bumble.
How am I going to get that into there?
Nicht jetzt nachlassen, weil ihr sagt, ist eh gegessen.
Du hast gerade gesagt, man braucht doch mal Phasen, wo man mal leise sein soll. Oh, sein Tor! Patsu Goretzka, er schießt. Oh.
Ich kommentiere nur noch mit euch beiden.
And it's in. 1-0 Brentford.
You're supposed to be unbiased.
I'm not biased.
Und er ist drin!
Es ist einfach ein mega Gefühl, da oben bei den ganzen Kommentatoren zu sitzen.
Wohin damit ins Tor? Und das kannst du dir nicht ausdenken.
Dann habt ihr doch hoffentlich ein schönes Erlebnis gehabt, oder? Das
Ja.
ist doch mal ein Spiel, wovon man lange erzählen kann.
Ciao. Tschüss. Mach's gut. Es hat sehr viel Spaß gemacht.
So cool. From the mouths of babes, isn't it? It's classic. Congratulations on the new job, by the way, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So Sky Next Generation has been a huge hit in Germany since you launched it in October last year, Alessandro. How are you now both working together on children's casting?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we started this endeavor, to be honest. Then we chipped it over. Normally, it's the other way around, that we have tons of other meetings to align. In that case, it was a little bit different because we saw the necessity to start first, to be first, and not, let's say, about a competition, because at the end of it, the sentiment, especially social media part, and also our perception from Sky Germany is a little bit different than in UK. And we saw this top match by Dortmund by Munich in front of us, and where we decided, okay, what is next? We always talking about the new generation, the different approach, how to approach generations. Is it only by clip 916, social media part? And we decided, okay, let's set something different up in parallel to our traditional broadcast, a dedicated kids cast. A little bit inspired by, to be honest, from CBS, what they did on the NFL. Sure. You need always a kind of inspiration, and make it very pragmatic. I mean, doing no market research, not spending tons of months by saying, oh, do you like it or not? Do it, do some learning, chip it over to the UK. We set them a little bit under pressure to do also, but it was a good learning at the end of the day, right, Joe?
Yeah, we just took the ball off you and ran with it, really. Yeah, it was exactly that. The timelines were pretty tight, and we just went for it. But it was really great to be able to liaise with Alessandro's team and Julia, I think, here somewhere, on their learnings, what worked, what didn't work, more crucially, logistically and creatively, to make sure that we kind of picked that up, and then it's worked the other way since we've done ours and you've done more, that we're actually talking all the time about, how to make it work, even though it's slightly different products and slightly different audiences.
And then it's great that you just picked it up and ran with it and did it straight away with no planning. That's cool. But I mean, what is, what's the value of doing this for Sky? How's it? You mentioned your brand and that kind of thing, values.
It is. Again, it's a different market perspective. In our case, it is really brand. It is really how we get a more positive sentiment, because we get well known in the German market at best in class by the residential way. I mean, 98% of our customers love what we do. They were not expecting, okay, they are crazy and they do something with kids. By the way, you can measure success by that, not from a linear part, because you can see demographics are changing, but it is also the digital buzz. We created around 9 million touch points on the digital side, which is really massive, to be honest. And you're spreading. I mean, this is a marketeer. I could be also here a marketeer. I'm a production guy, but I speak like a marketeer now. To say, okay, this is a good marketing approach to set up a totally new perspective on the market, what Sky can do. And this is a different angle to attract younger audiences. So this was the primary goal, and we said it also, this is not a one-off. This is our 4th production now, to get the learning and to get everything in speed, to, let's say, do the marketing around it. So it's worked out very well.
And how about for you, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, new audiences is a huge focus for us. Family viewing, younger audiences, more female audiences. So, as Alessandro said, you've got to try stuff and see if it works. But also, I think it's important to put yourself out there and put your values out there and say, there's no risk for us in that, because we believe in it. So you can talk about the cost and you can talk about everything else that came with it, but actually we're putting ourselves out there and saying this is important to us to create this inclusive content, to create innovative content, and to put our money where our mouth is on it.
Yeah, that's good. You see more broadcasters going for that now. It's not just content, it's how you feel about the content. And then how are you actually bringing kids not only into the production, into the crews, but you're allowing them to influence what you do next, which I think is really, really cool. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, I was about to say we were lucky with the kids that we found for ours, because the timelines were tight, but we weren't lucky. We went through the clubs and they went to the schools that they work with in the foundations, and actually, I'm sure there's lots of parents in this room. I can pretty much say for sure you're all biased about your children. I don't have children, I have a dog. I can tell you objectively it's the best dog that's ever lived. But actually, the teachers at these schools are amazing, because they know exactly which kids are going to be brilliant. They can tell you what they're passionate about. They can tell you where they're going to shine. So we work with the schools to find these brilliant kids. So that's how we got them involved in the production. In terms of the planning, I think there's 2 pieces. One, they're our target audience. They're not just our presenters and our talent, they're our target audience. So if we want to know what the kids that we're talking to and the families we're going to talk to are going to like, why not ask the kids we're working with? So they co-wrote the questions with us, they checked our graphics and our stats. We had a sort of bespoke explainer stats on the screen that, they were part of the production from the beginning. But the second piece is also equally important, which is the welfare piece, which is that if you're working with kids, and anyone that has done, you'll know that the whole point about it is informed consent, that they're happy at every stage of the production, that they know what they're doing, that they're comfortable, that they can say no at any point, they can tell you what they want to do. So the fact that you're involving them in the planning and the production means that you can check on that at every stage and put their needs first. And if they're comfortable, then you're comfortable at home. It's the same with adults and kids on screen.
I can fully echo. I mean, at the end of the day, what you can realize also, let's say, how the team is approaching those projects is totally different. I have to say, I never saw a project in our company which electrifies so many people at the moment that say, okay, we're proposing something, let's do something, and how we do cast the kids, how we engage them. First of all, for the first broadcast, we choose kids from our colleagues. They were interested in football and said, let's do it. And by the way, you have to approach it in a different way, because you're trained to be always no incident, the highest level, best in class, no failures. It could happen everything on site. They cannot talk. I mean, even people are having problems, let's say, coming on stage. Well, they're entering a stadium in Dortmund with 80,000 people. Yeah. So they're not quiet, they're talking, and that means how to create an atmosphere where they feel comfortable and not vulnerable in that case, and how they can express themselves. And this is really good to see, and also from the editorial point of view, how to work with kids in that case. Yeah. I mean, what if They're not saying something, so I mean, you have to react. So it was really interesting and also a learning curve for our editorial people. And also here it worked out very well. I think the commentary is really important. I think this is the most crucial part because the 90 minutes counts always. And you need a commentator or commentary guys who are really embed the kids, working with the kids, let them speak, and most of the time they're talking about food. I mean, it's not necessarily the right formation. They are hungry and they claim it. I'm hungry. I need a sausage and whatever I need. So a production manager runs around and getting food. So it is exactly this very naive approach which makes such a production a great success, I would say.
Sure, and you said about making children confident. I mean, they say never work with children and animals.
Exactly.
Confident children can be quite chaotic. And on that note, I mean, I know to capture those chaotic moments, you have to throw a lot of technology out there that you can't necessarily use in your broadcast just to try and capture those moments just in case. So can we talk about what you guys are doing there?
Yeah, so that was our sort of motto on it, was embrace the chaos. And obviously, as we all know, you have to put a lot of planning in place to be able to do that. And it's important that everyone's happy and safe. But yeah, we put a lot of stuff around it that we didn't get to use. So you talk about the food. We were going to, there was a brilliant part in your first production where the kids went and tried the hot dogs, and that was the whole part of it. We were going to try and do a similar thing. Our match went stratospheric, and there were 4 goals and 2 disallowed goals, and you can't be going off and trying hot dogs when that happens, because the editorial's got to stay at the heart of it, even with 11-year-olds. So actually there's a lot we did. We had body cam set up that we didn't use. We had a lot of kind of trial tech. So actually I think it's important, firstly, that the tech that you choose is there to make the kids look good and to allow them to shine, whether they run off in that direction, whether they obsessively talk about how white Jurgen Klopp's teeth are, which came up 4 to 5 times in our production. Slightly worried we were going to get comments, it was fine. But whatever they're doing, that you put the tech behind it that allows them to kind of shine and run off and do whatever they want to do, rather than for the sake of having extra innovative tech in there. I think that's the key.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is not a tech project.
Yeah.
And normally, let's say we are initiated to, let's say, always putting new technology out there. Yeah, okay, we're using body cams, cinematic cameras, Unreal engines, so forth. I mean, but it is not primarily a tech project. We not claim it as a tech project. It's a family broadcast. It's a totally different sentiment. Obviously, unique, cool graphics, and you can engage with companies to say, listen, we want to create something really cool out of the pitch and the splash out of our kids brand, how we do that. But it is not primarily a tech project, which is, in that case, also very important.
And you spoke about, the technology is there to capture those moments, the unplanned moments that crop up. But when I was talking to you before, Alessandro, you said that the children in the kids' casts actually have more access to perhaps certain aspects of a Bundesliga live match than your core cast. So
yeah. Unfortunately, there are no federation people out there, not at least from Bundesliga, but we record the session. Now, again, this is always what we're saying. I mean, we need to be closer to the game. It's very simple. I mean, we're talking about also, let's say, younger audience and different demographics. I truly believe we have to get closer to the game, and that means access to players. Locker room, always the holy grail locker room and everything. Don't touch player in interviews with players, kids, denied from clubs. I mean, it is a learning curve step by step, but nevertheless, I think it's super important. Otherwise, I mean, we can play the game with social, but nevertheless, once we are on site with the heavy, I mean, tier A, UHD, HDR, 26 camera thing, and we are missing the point not getting closer to the game with emotion, access, interviews, let's say before or during or whatever, microphone, mic ups. I think this is where we need to push federations. And with the kids cast, by the way, we're getting step by step a little bit closer. Let's say play the card with kids. It's always good, like animals. And get the learning and convince leagues and partners to understand where we want to be in the next couple of years.
Yes, yeah, and then it's not scary.
And it is not scary. It hurts no player, by the way, getting an interview after he's left the bus.
Yeah.
Everything is possible, yeah.
Yeah, no players were harmed in this broadcast.
Exactly, yeah.
And then what's been the response? Because, I mean, obviously the footage is hilarious and endearing, but what's been the response that you've both had to what you've put out so far?
Really positive, I'd say. I mean, we got good numbers. Over 1 million people watched it, and also we saw a heavier skew towards 4 to 9-year-olds, family viewing, younger viewing, well, female viewing. So all the audiences we're trying to hit, we hit. But also on social, it was overwhelmingly positive, and I think that's partly to do with that idea that kids get brilliant lines out of people. When you're being interviewed by a 10-year-old, you tend to kind of give a little bit more, and all the players and managers did that, and I think people really appreciated it. We did get a little bit of nonsense on social, but, you know, there's always a bit of nonsense on social, and if people want to tell a 10-year-old they're not a good commentator, then we just let them crack on and ignore it like we do with all that nonsense. But it was mostly positive, which is really heartening, and I think we really saw with that family audience, and anecdotally we're seeing repeatedly that, you know, there are kids sat at home saying, I want that to be me, how can that be me?
I can say also, let's say we have 100% positive feedback on social, and
Amazing.
To be honest, if you watch a traditional broadcast, I mean, it is sometimes really crazy what you have to read. And this guy, the commentator, which is one of our, let's say, famous guys, he normally gets, well, let's say, tons of, let's say, really bad words on Twitter especially. It is a 100% positive sentiment. He was surprised. So that means at the end of the day, it is good. It is a good project. It is something we have fun finding our way to explore new things and getting closer with our brand to a new target group.
Fabulous. And, I mean, we have touched on the idea of cost. I mean, you're doing a parallel broadcast to your core broadcast, which obviously sounds a bit expensive. So, Alessandro, you're running this once a month already, since October, which is a lot. Joe, you've done one football match so far. You know, with a full OB, what does this cost you, really?
Well, I don't want to, let's say numbers, but I can tell you, you need to convince really clearly your management to invest in that. And this is, I think, you said it, this is a parallel broadcast with nearly the same effort from a tech perspective, but also from a people perspective. And this is part of your, let's say, budget discussion with your financials and with your managing director, how we want to invest. I mean, you can spend a hell of a money in marketing and getting a much worse result. So what we did so far. So I think, we will have the discussion now in the new season if we want to start monthly, or are we picking 3 major events? Are we, let's say, choosing other sports as well, but it will a heavy budget discussion, and so far we are trying to balance and see new ways how we can tackle it from the effort point of view. But at the end of the day, it's an investment from my point of view in a good storytelling, and it's something new and which costs you normally from a marketing perspective much more. I mean,
Yep, just echo that really. You know, we did a full OB next, so the traditional production that went alongside it was remote. We were a full OB because we felt it was really important to be on site with the whole team, who, as you mentioned earlier, were incredibly energised. And our truck we needed a bigger truck. There were 2 million people in it, but that was a wonderful thing. So it was, it felt important to be there. And also, and I think with any of these things, we're testing, we're learning. You're gonna need to throw enough at it to see if it works the first time. And I think a soft version of it wouldn't have been the same kind of test. And there's bits that we didn't use as much, and there's bits that we wanted to do differently, and there's bits that have already, you know, improved month on month with what you're doing. So, I thought it was important to do that. But like you say, next time will be different, I'm sure.
And then finally, how are you both planning to evolve this? Alessandro, you mentioned you're kind of reviewing where you're going now.
Yeah, we're reviewing a bit the actual broadcast in football, obviously. In our, let's say, match of the week Bundesliga, we can truly imagine to do it for other sports as well, because we see a success. What is the right sports to do so? I mean, you have to think about it. Okay, I mean, football is a very dynamic sport. You can place the commentary in the right way. So this is something we are looking into. But it's definitely more to come. And also, let's say, from a streamlined perspective, because not if you consider, let's say you're doing a kids cars in a tier 2, tier 3 environment, you don't need to bring a big Obi on site, whatever. You can do it in a different way, focusing on commentary, for instance, only, and graphics, overlay graphics, simple overlay graphics. So this is something we are reviewing at the moment and evaluating, and definitely more to come in the next couple of weeks.
Great.
Couple of weeks. For us, I think it's more of it's a bigger picture piece in that it forms part of lots of testing and learning we're doing across that new audience side, and I think I would even connect it back to the 100, which is a format that we came up with the ECB to create something for families. And I think whether you're looking at format, whether you're looking at production, whether you're looking at platform, it's all part of that wider piece. But I think it also comes back to that collaboration with the governing bodies, with the clubs. I think the successes we've seen and everyone's seen in this whole sector across reaching new audiences and talking to kids specifically, the ones that have worked are the ones that have had that backing and that collaboration all the way through. So that's something we would want before we do anything similar again, is in whatever sport, is to make sure we're working closely with a governing body or a club to achieve it.
Fantastic. Well, I think it's brilliant. It's hilarious and cool. Okay, thank you very much. Please give a round of applause to my speakers.
Thank you.
And thank you again. Now, I'm going to hand over to Alessandro in a second, who is going to talk about the Special Olympics coming up in Berlin this summer. But before I do, let's see what it's all about.
Compete together. Win together. Be unbeatable together. Berlin invites you to the Special Olympics World Games 2023. The world's largest sports event for people with intellectual disabilities. For more information, visit berlin2023.org.
Thank you, Heather. I know I hijack a little bit the thing, but it was very important to me to advertise one event which is happening in Berlin this year, and hopefully you all will come, because I know that we are talking a lot about the high-class super. We are in the PSG stadium, and I went to the tour and saw Mbappe's own lounge and whatever. So this thing is Inclusion 100. I mean, 100% inclusion. It's the world's largest inclusion event. It's happened in Germany. It's the biggest multi-sport event in Germany since the Olympics. So we're talking about 7,000 athletes, 20,000 volunteers. It is our force for good. Here are many, many senior people here. So spread the good word, do something. I will host an DACH SVG summit during that time on June 21st. So reach out to SVG, not that I need attendance, but to see what's happening. You get a day pass, you can feel, you can breathe inclusion. And it is very important, because we always talk about the big tier 1, always also in the SVG. And I think it's our mission also to give people access and visibility which they don't have. And it's really hard for them. And I think it's our job to do, and I invite everyone. And I'll let you go for a coffee break, but this was really important for me personally as well. Thank you.
Fabulous. You'll see a lot about that. I'm sure you'll see a lot about that on the SVG Europe website.